This is the Monday Night Men's Forum. I'm Matt of FarmHopLife, and tonight we have.
Christopher from Secure Coop.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thank
Been a
you.
while.
Yeah.
Um, so tonight we're talking about. This is episode 24 of the Men's Forum. What have you done? Yep, totally cut out. What have you done for me lately? But before we get to that, let's do some personal events.
Sure.
What's a personal event you would like to share?
One that you're probably gonna be annoyed at. I was on another podcast just before this one.
Are you cheating on me?
I might be.
Let's hear it. What's the podcast? Give him a shout
Yeah,
out.
this was magnifying Christ in your business, and he's more about business podcast, and it's business and relationship with the Lord and walking through that. So, just as I did talk with you on my interview with you, I talked about the business and walking with fatigue and trying to push through and make all that happen, and how uh, my relationship with Christ has also just filled that out and made that. Not stressful, but made it possible, made it, just day by day, empowering in grace. So I just enjoyed that. I just had a good had a good hour, 45-minute conversation.
Give him the what's the name of the podcast?
Boy, what is the name of it? I'll tell you in a second. But I know I've got it linked on my wall. It is empowering forward momentum. Empowering forward momentum.
Empowering forward momentum.
Yeah, and he runs
Nice.
another podcast about liberty, and I suggested that you might talk to him. Maybe you guys could cross interview each other.
I am interested in Kenesh.
Yeah.
For that group. I try not to solely rely on other groups to bring awareness to FarmHopLife. I'm interested in the individual.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm gonna go after. And I try not to because when groups just start interviewing each other, it just gets very I don't know how I don't know another way to describe it other than circle jerky. It just so that's
All
what
right.
it. So
Yeah.
I have to give space between. So I think it's been enough time has passed since I interviewed somebody from that group.
Okay.
I'd like to bring on someone else. So I did Brian from the Lots Project, and I was supposed to get Amy Dingman on. I was on Brian's show, and then he was on my show. I was on Amy Dingman's show, Farmer's Kind of Life, which is super weird similarity in titles. But and then she was supposed to come on my show, and then she did the hiatus. So
Okay.
I need to get her back in the loop.
Yeah. She's getting back into it, isn't she?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's maybe I'm way overthinking it in terms of just freaking talk to people and don't worry about it because nobody else cares but you.
Your first impulse is correct. That does tend to be that was a multi-level way of marketing. Years ago, that you wouldn't really make money to find new customers. You just would be constantly feeding off each other, and it only works to a point. But your impulse was correct. But I would just say go for it.
Yeah.
Just do the interview. He's an interesting dude, and it was a great conversation.
I like the interviews that he's in, and the whole group. They're fascinating, and I just don't want to. Grant from Homestead of Pain is checking in. I'll be home in 26 minutes.
Okay.
Hit that like and subscribe button there, Grant. I don't remember what I was talking about. And that's okay.
Interview.
Yeah, they're a fine group of people, and I would like to talk to each and every one of them.
You should.
So, Yeah. Personal event. Um, I shared on social media that my thanks, Grant. He already liked and subscribed.
There.
Um, uh, I shared on social media that my wife bought 40 pounds of apples yesterday, and so this is
Ooh,
uh, this is us washing all of our apples, and
cool.
so we made apple sauce. Oh man, apple sauce, apple butter, apple muffins, apple like an apple loaf, and then an apple loaf with like crumble on top or something, and then we did like 3 pans of apple crisp to put in the freezer, and I think we still have like 15 pounds
Dehydrate them.
to we don't have a dehydrator.
You don't have a dehydrator?
No, I don't have a
Oh man.
dehydrator. You gonna send me one?
Uh,
Yeah, see, that's what I thought.
yeah. Let me think about that. No, but they're not terribly.
Wait,
Got
I have an air
mosquito.
fryer. Do they dehydrate?
Got a mosquito that's flying around me. I don't think an air fryer will do it. I think you need the actual, honest to God,
Yeah, I didn't know
dehydrator.
if they had like a
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know. It's like a 7-in-1 air fryer thingy. So I don't
And,
know. But
and there are plans for if you if you get to a position where you say I've got to dehydrate all this stuff, you can make plans for doing a solar dehydrator and just doing it yourself.
that's what I need.
Where there's
Another
a
project.
yeah, where there's a will, there's a way.
Now, to be fair, the 40 apples were like 10 projects inside of one project.
Yeah.
But it made my wife very happy. So I was happy to help and participate in.
And it's a good problem to have if
Apple
you've got
waxing.
all those apples. Yeah, I mean, you'll have a lot more to put away. We'll find out soon enough. We've got ourselves 2 or 3 or 4 apple trees, and in about 3, 5, or 8 years, we'll have some coming in. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Now, then you can sell them by the bushel or whatever it is you do.
Sell them to some unsuspecting dude with 40 pounds at a time, and
I'm guessing it's because it's end of season and
okay.
they weren't like the prettiest apples. Like these are not ones that you would pick up at a grocery store. But you know what? They made pie. Oh, that's another thing she's gonna make. She's gonna make pie. They made all this stuff just fine, and like I don't know, they're just good. They taste good. They're not overly sweet either. Like I had a store-bought Honey Crisp and I ate it right after or before one of these ones, and the store-bought Honey Crisps were like super, super sweet. So compared to these were just a regular sweet.
Yeah,
but also Honey Crisp. So
they are Honey Crisp.
They are Honey Crisp. Yep, they're just like they're small,
mealy. Yeah, not as good.
Not even the size of my fist. So.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, that was yesterday. Yeah.
And you went nuts with canning.
Yeah, we actually had to buy more canning jars because we ran out, and then I picked up like an accessory today because again more canning. The jar tongs thing to drop them into the pot. Because
yeah. Well, these are good things to work out now before we have any kind of a supply chain that perhaps might be coming our way. I don't know.
Yeah. I was just thinking about from the skills portion because I've honestly never canned anything before in my life.
Yeah.
So this was a new skill for me, which is kind of cool. I liked it.
Excellent.
Yeah. I got very lucky. So she's like she would put we for some reason we have a wine opener even though none of us drink wine, and so she was putting the apples on the corkscrew part of the wine opener and then using the peeler on that because she one time took like a huge chunk out of her like knuckle or something like that using a peeler. Well, I tried that. I'm like, this is slow. I'm just gonna peel it. Like I'm just gonna peel it the regular way. And so the little teeth on the I one time like it slipped or something. I was trying to get in like a little nook and cranny on one of the apples, and the teeth got into my thumb, and
Oh.
I slowly backed it out, and I was like, that was
Ow!
really
Dang
close. I know I could have been like, you know, that guy in that movie Seven, Kevin Spacey in
Oh.
Seven. He has like all his fingerprints are taken off. That would have been me right right on this
Oh.
thumb. It was so
Oh.
close. I was so close.
Oh, I feel that in my bones, man. That hurt. That sounds like so painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was just the little teeth, and no real damage. So we're all good.
I think if you were to do it on a regular basis, it would be worth investing in one of those spinning
Yes.
peelers.
My father-in-law sent like a Amazon link to one of those, and Katie's like, "Yeah, we're not buying one of those just for like 1 day a year thing."
Okay. Yeah, I
or
would
even
agree
a
with that.
one-time thing. I don't know. Like now,
Yeah,
if
I
we
would
could
agree with
get
that.
all 40 pounds done in a day, yeah, that might be an investment for one day a year kind of thing. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. If it's only if you're doing that all regularly. Yeah.
or like, you know, divide it up amongst neighbors. Like let the neighbors borrow it. Like, hey, we'll let you borrow this thing if you want to also let us borrow your dehydrator. Seems like a fair trade, right? But yeah, that was yesterday.
Cool.
So, so the main topic, what have you done for me lately? And when I pitched this idea, the guys were like, are you asking us like what have you done for us lately? And I said, if you want to go there, that's fine. I'll be open to that. But none of them are here. So
man.
I didn't.
What's up with these lazy bums?
I intentionally didn't invite them, so I would not receive any criticism. That's
now,
not true.
when you sent that, my first thought was the Janet Jackson song.
I do not know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
You didn't grow up in the '80s, so you didn't.
No,
you didn't
I
have
was
that.
born in '90. Yes.
Yeah. So that was going
Math
on in the
doesn't work.
background. Of
Nope.
you know, there's a Janet Jackson song. I'm not going to sing it because I.
Oh, it would have been good views.
I just had to listen to it before coming on the show. So I'm thinking that's what this is gonna, you know, like this. You're gonna play that for the theme song, and we're gonna like rock out to some Janet. No. Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
So
I forget that she's an artist.
Yeah, that's true. What made you want to talk about this? What is there some story, some backstory?
I don't know. I think it's I explained briefly towards the end of the last episode that like it's a mindset that I think I have, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't like, you know, it's very the first thing I thought of or that I think of when I hear what have you done for me lately is like boomers saying like, oh, all these, you know, Gen Xers and millennials having like this, well, what have you done for me lately attitude for like our country? Like, that's the American flag, damn it. Like, it doesn't need to do anything for you. But I was going to just kind of, it's more of an open-ended question. And like discussion topic. I didn't really necessarily need to touch on anything specifically. Just a good question.
Okay.
Like in the terms of like country, right? So like you should be in service to your country, like instead of like that mindset. Like you should be in service to your country instead of asking, you know, the whole like what can my country
what can I do
for you? Yeah, that thing.
What can I do for my country? Okay.
Now that sounds nice, except that in a normal relationship, there's give and take. And, you know, it doesn't always necessarily need to be like 50-50, but it should at least be like equal. And I feel like in that sense, I'm giving way more than I'm getting back. Okay. Does that make sense? Like,
if you're asking the question, you feel like you're giving more than you're getting. Yeah.
In terms of like taxes and all that, etc.
Okay. And I'll bet, and I don't know the lyrics of the Janet Jackson song, I'll bet that's her attitude. Like she's saying, to her boyfriend or her husband or whatever,
Maybe
you
our
know,
manager.
or manager. Yeah. I've been doing so much, and what have you done? And maybe that's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I have to look up the lyrics or something.
Let's do a thorough analysis of the lyrics. Okay, line by line.
Yeah, yeah.
Number
So
17.
the question though, especially if you're in a marriage relationship, I think it's the wrong question.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
because, and here's why. Uh, that mosquito, I'm sorry, that guy keeps flying right in my field of vision. The question, when you're asking that question in the marriage relationship, you've taken your eyes off of the other person as an amazing person and as a person for whom you are captivated. Like, there's a story, one of my favorite pastors likes to tell the story where he comes home on his anniversary and he has one rose for every year they were married. They would put it behind his back. And he's got this rose there, he's this bunch of roses. And he comes to the front door and he rings the doorbell, which he never does because it's on his own house. And his wife comes to the door confused. And it's, Johnny, what are you doing here? Why are you ringing the doorbell? And he pulls the roses out. Surprise! It's our anniversary. I took you out to. We're going to take you out to dinner. I've got a sitter, and we're gonna go have a good time tonight. And here's the roses. And she says, Johnny, they're beautiful. Why would you? And if he were to say, because it's my duty, that would be the wrong answer. But now back up the tape. He's got the roses. Ding dong. Johnny, they're beautiful. Why did you? And he says, because I can't help myself. I just love to buy you roses. And I can't wait to spend time with you and to take you out and enjoy you and be with you and spend time in your company. And I think it's the same attitude that comes across when you're asking that in a marriage relationship. What have you done for me? It's sure a marriage should be 50-50, but if you get to that point where you're asking it, you've taken your eyes off of the delight of the spouse and enjoying the spouse for who the spouse is, in such that you can't wait to do more for that person. And I'm talking to myself because I know that I don't do well in this. I don't always enjoy and appreciate my wife like I should, and I do have that attitude sometimes that I do so much and I'm missing some things here. Maybe she is saying to herself, I'm doing a lot for you and you just don't recognize it. So my first response would be to then back up, take a step back, and analyze and think about the kinds of things that I really appreciate about my wife and about who she is, her nature, and all that she is, and relish that and enjoy that and glory in that, and then go forward into finding, this is such a wonderful person. What more can I do for this person that I just take such delight in? So
I absolutely agree with
yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
I was going to say that there are certain relationships that this does not apply to.
Okay.
So, like marriage would be one that it doesn't apply to. Parents, children, siblings wouldn't apply to. This, I feel like this attitude could be applied like angrily in faith. Like, what have you done for me lately? Like being mad at God or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that could be a common one. Now, in the in all those relationships, I was speaking about this briefly with my wife. Like, it would have to be pretty one sided before you even start asking the question. How's it going, long story?
Hey, long story.
Good, guys. How you guys doing?
All right.
Good. Been a while.
Yeah, man. We got some rain coming in, so I was trying to get everybody in the dry. You know, got 135 meat birds on the property right now, so
Woo. Cool.
make sure they're tucked up nice and safe for the evening there.
Nice. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Do we need to catch you up on where we're at?
Yeah, I don't want to bore the audience, man. I'll tag along, man. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just covering quick. So the attitude of what have you done for me lately doesn't apply to your spouse, your children, your parents, or your siblings, unless it's completely one-sided. Like, let's say like there's a friend, or even like a cousin or somebody close to you that just completely sucks all your time and energy. Emotion, could be financial, physical. I guess, I don't know. That you're really starting to like wonder, like, what am I getting out of this? Like, I like helping these people, but man, I am really, really getting burnt out. Like, why there's no reciprocation here? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. Well, I really like the topic. First of all, I think one of the things that we have to be really careful about is we live in a world that tries as much as possible to make everything transactional, everything. And so, you know, I try to live more based on relationships than on transactions with that group you were talking about, right? I've run into people that are like, man, my parents are so toxic, I just have to cut them off. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, man, my mom and dad have been dead for 12 plus years. I would do anything for a little toxicity in my life for my parents right now. You know, and look, everybody's got toxic relations, quote unquote. I think that's kind of a dumb buzzword, but I think, you know, I guess here's what I'll take it to an extreme. There are people who even view their relationship with God as transactional.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
that's the part. Like, there are people that are like, well, I did everything God asked, so why don't I have what I want? If that's your approach to life, man, and especially to God, I think that's not going to work out too well for you.
Yeah, it's called prosperity gospel. It's the idea that we can treat God like a genie, like he, you know, if we do these things, then God owes us. But God owes us nothing. We owe him everything. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I kind of view like you say, unless there's some extreme, like, you know, abuse or cheating in the marital relationship, there's really, to me, it's you do whatever you need to do. And, you know, I mean, that's a sacred thing, being married to someone and giving your life over to them. And what you have to hope for is you pick well, and that they take the same care of your life as you take of theirs, you know. I don't know if it feels a little unequal sometimes. I'm sure it feels the same way to them. So
that's probably true.
And in marriage, that's a very good point, because in marriage, when a husband and a wife, and I'm sorry to keep bringing up the Bible, but it's just my point of reference for most things anyway. Like in Ephesians, it talks about the husbands love their wives and wives respect their husbands, and I think that calls back to our core natures, that a wife just wants that love and the husband wants that respect. A wife wants to give love to the husband, but the husband would rather be respected. And the husband may want to give respect to the wife, but the wife would rather feel loved. And so all that to say, the different sexes come at marriage differently. And so they might be tempted to ask themselves, what have you done for me lately? Because I've been giving you, husband, I've been giving you love, love, love. and the husband says, I haven't felt any respect. They're just looking for two different kinds of things.
Sure.
And so one person says to themselves, I'm really committed to this relationship, I'm putting it in, and the other person's not seeing it because they're looking for something different.
Yeah, and I tell you, you guys have kind of got me riled up a little bit, but what really bugs me is when you have two adults who can't figure out how to work out their own relationship and end up just crushing their kids under the burden of divorce and all that. Like, I see this a lot, man, in marriages where people are like, well, I need to go live my best life. And I'm like, you're going to be disappointed. I mean, that's all there is to it. Life is,
and you're going to hurt other people in the process.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you go about it from like a, how do I reduce suffering in the world point of view, a little bit of extra suffering on my part to alleviate that with my wife and kids, that's a trade I'm going to take every day. I mean, I would say I probably do take it every day, but that's going to sound pretty selfish. But I would take that trade every day.
We know what you mean. There's there's some like just the little things that, man, I would rather not be doing this one little thing right now. But you know what? It's I'll suck it up, and it'll make their lives happier, better. And you know what? It's not that big a deal to me. I can put off whatever I was going to do. So yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. And Chris, you were saying like our core nature. I think that's part of the core masculine nature to basically to be willing to sacrifice for, and I think, again, I mean, we're going to solve the whole world's problems here, but when you look at like evolutionary psychology and sexual selection, a lot of that stuff, the way I'm seeing it, a lot of that stuff is starting to kind of confirm traditional gender roles. Like it's kind of crazy,
It
like
does.
You start looking
really
at this
does.
stuff. Yeah. And there's
we're going to get Matt's channel banned for speaking truth here on this subject.
Whatever. My whopping 90 followers on YouTube will be disappointed. Oh no.
Well,
right.
Well, I'll step into that a little deeper. I might have been willing to listen to an argument about gender roles and social constructs before I started farming.
I see where you're going with that.
I can no longer accept those arguments. I just can't. I mean,
can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I watched a bull and a steer calf fight for dominance one day, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it was the most like brutal thing. And, there was just this like total like alpha energy about it, and you look at roosters and drakes with the hens, and you look at the bucks, with the goats. There's just a different. Those behaviors are, I think biologically driven. I don't think there's a lot. I actually believe that one day we're going to look at things and go, most of this was biology, and what we. I even think that our grasp on free will is very tenuous. Like that's how biologically determinate I think things are. That's probably one of my more radical views, maybe. But yeah, I look at the way that the male of the different species behave versus the females, and I don't see a social construct there. I think this is a biological pattern.
Yeah, I'm with that.
I will absolutely agree with that.
Welcome, Grant.
Yes,
Grant.
I'm glad I made it. I was, kind of driving 97 down the highway trying to get home.
I got a podcast to make. Officer, you don't understand.
Get out of the way. I've got a podcast. I'm going to run you over.
No semis got pushed off the road.
That we know of. Grant,
Yes.
what do you think of when, as the only unmarried guy here, but I mean,
Mhm.
like, you got a wedding coming up in like 6 weeks to your new girlfriend or something.
Okay, well, that's how I was tonight, and it was
I
wonderful.
knew it. I knew it. Um, what is your take on what have you done for me lately?
Could you follow that up with another sentence, just so I can describe it more?
It could be, I guess it depends on the relationship. So
Like, what
we
have I
all
done for
talked about.
you? Like, is it you
It's more
personally?
rhetorical. It can be a personal attack. I am available for personal attacks for the next 5 seconds, and then I'm closing them.
One.
I'm on your show.
Matt, I actually thought that was targeted at me, since I haven't been on the broadcast for a couple of weeks. I thought you were like, that's it. I'm done with that guy.
Last chance. Long story.
Um,
To be fair, Grant, while you since I'm not giving you any examples on elaborating, I'm gonna just explain. When I send out the email to invite everybody, I do not expect anything in return. I post. I throw the topics out there that I hope are intriguing and make good conversation, and whoever wants to come on is on. And I understand that people get busy, and so, like, long story, it's probably been a month, maybe more. I can't remember last time you've been on. That and so, like, it's just all in terms of availability. Like, I don't have any expectations from any of you guys to, like, show up every week. Like, Christopher, like, he checks in every week. He's like, hey, I'm gonna make it this week, or I'm not gonna make it this week, and I appreciate that, but I don't expect that out of anybody. Like, if
I'm going to try to make it every week until it's a topic that I can't speak on.
all right, new challenge: make a topic Grant can't speak on.
Okay, well, I can speak on any topic. It's whether that information is helpful.
Yeah, there you go.
I am an expert in my opinion.
So, so we were talking about transactional relationships, and I don't in friendships in which I consider everyone here a friend of mine. I don't expect anything out of you guys. Like, if anything, like, I'm trying to bring value to our friendship. Like, hey, how can I help them? Like, what do I have to offer to help them? Just because I want to help them.
I think that's like a mutual thing that comes with, friendships. I don't really see anything wrong with, transactional friendships, because I do look at things a lot of the way transactional. It, like, specifically talking about like kids in my, like, other fellow classmates. What I invest in this person, like, time wise, I'll do what I can to get to know them, ask them what they plan to do with this in the field when they're done. Half of them will say, oh, I don't know. And I was like, okay, do I want to invest more time in you, or do I want to put that into someone else who knows what they're going to do? And then wants to use me to help them, and for them to help me by using me. A lot of that, it builds into a friendship, but you have to start that somewhere. If there's not value in a person, um, is it a friendship? You know what I mean? Someone has to share value with the other to really kind of build that foundation.
I think that's true. You know, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Like, you're more willing to step out on a limb to help somebody when they've helped you. When you're like, man, I want to help this person. Now is really not a good time. Blah, blah, blah. Excuse to not help somebody. But even if it's super inconvenient for you, like, man, they're in a pinch, and I just got to go help them, even though it's going to set me back. Like, I got to help this person.
Yeah, kind of. And I do. I try to help people. But like I would say, like with our closest family friends, who at this point we consider family. We met them in church. They've been, friends of the family since I was 2, and they recently had an event within the family. And yesterday we dropped everything we were doing. We had just finished butchering out the second pig, and we threw everything in the refrigerator. We just left, and we went and we stayed with them for about 6 hours. And then my parents are back tonight. We'll probably go back again tomorrow because we know if something like that happened, they would be there in the exact same way if they could.
Right.
And you can look at that as transactional, if you want, because if you want to break it down, that is transactional. I mean, you put so much into them, knowing they're going to give that exact same back to you. You wouldn't do that to somebody who just wouldn't, because then like you put into it and then they burn you. Well, he's like, okay, second chance. You put into them again, they just take it and burn you again. And whether it's through happenstance or their circumstance, sometimes people just have that thing that follows them, that their life is always a mess. Something is always following them. They're always in some type of trouble. It's always something. And I don't know if that's the kind of people you really want to keep around as long-term friends. You know, if you do what you can with your power to give them an assistance, as that's the Christian thing to do, but you're not tied to them to help them get on track that they should be.
No, that's really well said.
Thank you.
I'm surprised it was as well said as it was.
I have a question for Long Story, because you said something earlier that intrigued me, and I didn't understand it. I wanted to hear it again. Where you said you don't think that friendships are transactional. You think that there's more of it. You try to pour more into a relationship. Can you talk that out a little bit more?
Yeah, what I was trying to say is, I don't want to live like so. I'll give you an example. My best friend, since I was like 10 years old, when we were in college, we'd go out to lunch and we'd have lunch and we'd be like, hey, I got it today. And the next time we'd be like, no, I think it's my turn. And we never knew. I mean, I could have been up $300 or $400. I could have been down $300 or $400, but we had no idea.
You didn't keep track.
And that's what I'm really saying. Like, I'm not saying that, like Grant was saying, there's going to be some friends that probably no matter what, if they call, I'll go, no matter what. There's going to be other friends that are going to be very transactional, I think I'm learning with the farm. I didn't know how to ask for the money at the beginning. I was like, you're a friend, I'll give you a deal. And then I'm like, I'm working for free, or I'm like paying to give them food. Like I'm literally going negative to give people food. I'm like, wait a minute. And I had a really good friend of mine. She goes, Jeffrey, you have to collect from your friends. Your enemies won't buy from you. I'd never thought of it that way. Like I never processed that.
Yeah.
Like somehow I'm thinking there's like this close group of friends, then there's customers, and then there's enemies. Well, guess what? Your friends and your family are probably the most likely people to actually do business with you. As long as they understand they're getting value that's commensurate for, with what you're asking, there's no reason that can't be that particular piece that relationship isn't transactional. But I try to live my life where in the friend and family column, like we were saying, and there's a Friedrich Hayek has this concept of the micro, like basically you should be a blazing socialist with your close circle, and the further out you go, the more, laissez-faire you are, right? Let's say.
Okay.
And I guess that's the way I would kind of summarize it. But
and then the way I would take that even is to turning it around as your customer. I would definitely try to pay more than you would ask than somebody off the street, because I'm the friend. I don't want the friend deal. I want to be able to serve you, give you more than you're expecting. That's the way I ought to do to the people for whom I want to support. Is I should be able to, find, because I'm going to call them friend, right? And I'm not your friend because I want something. What have you done for me? I'm a friend because you give me an opportunity to, in some small way, lay down my life for you in this way or that way.
I listened to Thriving the Future podcast the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big podcast guy, but every now and then if I'm in the car, I'll listen to one. And I just, they've been interacting with me on Twitter, and I thought, well, I'll give it a listen. And they had a conversation, I guess, about the gift or barter economy and how in homesteading there's so many people looking for stuff for free, and then there's so many other people that want to just give stuff for free. And I think that can be like the other end of this topic. It's like
Sure.
that can be pretty negative. I mean, it could be great, but taken to an extreme where everyone expects everyone to give something for free. I used to, when people ask for free stuff, I'm like, well, like education should be free. I'm like, okay, if you're a teacher, will you work for free? Like,
The world can't work on free.
Yeah.
Like
there's a limit. There's a limit, right? I mean,
yeah. Yeah, but what you were saying, Story, about like with your friends, you can't count that like you were talking about lunch. You can't keep count and score on who's buying who what, but you can count, like you can be there and count the emotional transaction. Like you said, pour into each other. That's really the foundation of friendship. And like to the topic of what have you done for me lately, you don't really have to do anything for them as long as you just have an understanding that I'll be there for you. You know what I mean?
The in the terms of giving something away for free, like maybe what you wanted was in return a connection or a relationship or community building.
Yeah.
Relationship building. There's a guy I became friends with through the Montana Poultry Growers Co-op. So I needed to rent equipment to process chickens and buy feed and stuff, and that's how I met him. And he lets me hunt on his property, and I've been over to his place a few times to help. Like, he was my very first interview. He did I recorded a farm tour. And I've helped him here and there, but he also lets me hunt on his land and stuff. And I feel like when people are so giving, I feel like I couldn't, I don't have enough time to reciprocate what the value that I'm getting.
Well, what you can do is when it comes to giving gifts, it's the thought that counts. Putting that thought into a gift, or like you made an apple butter, or you made your apple muffins and stuff like that. You could, take him some and says, "Hey man, I just appreciate you helping me when I needed help, and you letting me use what's yours." And because it's the thought of giving that, whether it be small or not, it's that extra personal step of, hey, you thought of me to give me something, but then you made it yourself, and then you
That's
gave
a good
that
idea,
to me.
Grant.
So that I do that a lot when it comes to jams and jellies, because it's a way to kind of pay people. You pay them with your kindness and your time, and it kind of you whether you store that in a product and then when you give it to them, it's it makes them think highly of you more. So you just you can sell yourself without having to, try to sell yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I like what you said about storing your time and your maybe your care in something. Like I've been baking bread for the market, and I did it on I have a bread recipe from when I was a chef that is awesome, and we started taking that, and then a guy goes, "Hey man, can you make sourdough?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, no problem. I used to make sourdough all the time. I let my starter go whenever I moved to Chile. I hadn't started one up since I came back. I was like, yeah, no problem. And I started making it almost as a favor for this guy. And it's turned into something that people really care about. But it was more of the gesture of, here's a guy who's really doing everything he can to promote makers in our community. And hey, it's a simple thing to make a little, and like you said, Grant, is storing your care and your energy and your time and that product that is appreciated. It's cool.
Yeah, it goes a really long way with people. Like, for me with my vegetables, my mom's boss's mother, um, she's maybe 80 something. So I'd give her some tomatoes and some cucumbers, just a little, maybe 2 pounds worth of stuff that I had, and then she got it. She was tickled to death. She loved it, and then she hand wrote me a thank you card, and then she gave me money in it. She gave me $50 for
Hmm.
2 pounds
Yeah.
of vegetables because
Wow.
she was grateful for it. And so I still have the note. I don't have the 50 anymore, but I have that note saved. And I've gotten several other thank you notes from people who were, appreciate the time I put into what I gave them and wasn't really asking for anything. But then they end up giving you something back that was more.
Hmm.
And you can look at that. I think by definition that can be considered transactional, but it's not the same as I bought dinner tonight, you buy dinner tomorrow night, and then I'll buy dinner the next night. It's I consider those different types of transactions.
Sure.
So, do you guys ever think of a situation where that is an appropriate question?
I was thinking about this a couple of different ways. The one
Appropriate to
that
what?
Appropriate
the
question to ask. What have you done for me?
was employee and employer relationship. So like an employee, now it's very touchy because an employee could feel like I'm doing my job every day and I haven't, got a raise or, approved time off or whatever it is that they want. Like, what have you done for me lately? But then I'm sure the employer's thinking like, well, you just show up and do your job and I'm paying you what I've like our agreed upon wage. What have you done for me lately that I should go like above and beyond
Yeah.
whatever our contract states? And so like
I,
both sides feel slighted.
I think you really can't use this in an employee setting because you have the management, then you have the employee or boss, and however it works. They both should come in and do what they're supposed to do, but then take pride in their job to make it better for their employee and the employee to do their job as best as they can. I don't really think you can pull that in that. Maybe like if somebody's asking you for something, a really big something, um, say you come someone come find out that somebody's behind on some important payments for their equipment they use to do their job, but they have been in the hospital for the last 6 weeks because they got into a four-wheeler accident. I would not ask what have you done for me lately in that instance. But if it's somebody who just kind of squandered the last week, 6 weeks, not really pushing and doing the jobs that they should have been doing, and then they're behind on payment, and then they ask, "Hey, man, I need a boost," and I'd be like, "No, because you haven't been doing what you're supposed to. You really haven't helped me when I could have used it. So where have you been? What have you done? If not, but for me, but for yourself, you know." I do think there are some instances where it is appropriate to say, just kind of check somebody and be like, well, what have you done for me? If they just keep on and keep on and keep on asking and just taking, because some people will just take and take and take.
Well, I have a friend who was a drug addict, and he was mercurial in the way he would be like on top of the world and then just crash and go back onto whatever drugs or whatever. And when he was in those bottoms, man, he would suck you dry as much as you'd let him. And he just had no concept of what he was even asking for. And those are probably one of the only instances where I gave him some money one time, and I was basically, don't ask again, But I, on the other hand, like, I know I'm kind of going over into a different space here, but like if I see someone on the street asking for money, I try to be a decent. I try to judge a little bit if I feel like they're doing it as a grift, as a business, if you will. Because I've known people that was their thing. They were like, "Nah, I make more money doing this. And I can, bagging groceries or whatever."
Yeah.
But I also don't worry. Once I make the decision to give the money to someone, I don't worry about what they do with it. I don't care. I mean,
Sure.
if they decide to misuse it, I'm like, hey, I figure God.
It's on them
God
at that point.
Yeah, God will put that in the ledger, however He sees it. It's not something I can.
And to that, when people add, like I'm gonna call them beggars because that's what they're doing, and I don't necessarily find anything wrong with that. But you'll see the people who ask for money, and they look like you can look at them and be like, you look like you could be at work right now. And then you see some, and then you see some people, and they're sleeping next to a trash can outside the grocery store. Then you weigh that, and then you're like, well, you can go get that guy breakfast or dinner, and then bring it back to him. I keep some of my old jackets. I keep about 3 or 4 old jackets in my car. So if I ever see somebody who is asking for money or needs help, especially in the winter, I'll give them a jacket. I mean, I'm 21. I don't have a whole lot of money to spare. When I feel like getting rid of some, I'm going to use it on myself. But I'd rather do something for them instead of just give them money.
Have you ever thought about making them a shelter out of IBC totes?
At that point, I think I might have to charge rent.
Yeah, those suckers are expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get what you mean. You give what you can. Sometimes it's a jacket, and sometimes if you're Long Story Farms, it's just a wad of cash. So, or sourdough starter, maybe.
Well, you know what I'll tell you what I have been doing is, and I've been giving a group home, some guys in a group home. I've been giving them the stuff that I don't sell at the farmers market. So,
Hey, nice.
Yeah, they get the hocks and shanks and a little fat back here and there. I'll take them something about once a month. I'll take them about 25 or 30 pounds of pork.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, that's 4 or 5 guys there, so it's not just one guy. So
no, but still, that's a lot of pork.
Yeah, but I mean, it's filling up my freezers. I can't keep holding it because I don't have a good market for that right now. So I can only eat so much. I feed some to the dogs. We eat some, and then if we have a little left over, we pass it on.
Nice. So. That's pretty generous. I'm trying to think of.
Well, I don't really think so, but thank you.
I mean, you could not do it, so I'd say it's generous.
I could compost it, right?
Oh my gosh! I will pay for the shipping if you're just giving it away. I will take it.
And long story, your action there kind of works into something which a wise man once said, is that when you take people, I'm going to misquote it, I'm sure, take people out to eat who cannot pay you back. That's some of the greatest treasures. Is that's where you're getting, you're getting that transaction, but it's going to come from the blessing in your heart that that you have contributed to make someone's day, to a smile. They cannot pay you back. They cannot, and that's the kind of people for whom we can seek out. But it is dicey when you don't know if they're just putting you on they're standing in front of the help wanted sign and they're saying, we'll work for food. Like, come on. But those people for whom you feel pretty confident that they cannot help their situation. They would if they could, and you just want to put a smile on their face. That's just such a wonderful thing to do.
Oh, I thought he was going to respond. Yeah, it's, man, the giving aspect takes this question to a whole nother level, because there usually isn't any prior transaction. And if there is, maybe it. Oh, he dropped
Oh,
out. Maybe
lost
maybe his internet dropped. If there is a prior transaction, maybe it is one-sided, and you still don't care. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, there you go, there you are.
Yeah.
I mean, think about like a charity, like when we were at the Ronald McDonald House. From what I've heard is that after staying at the Ronald McDonald House, you are sent something that resembles an invoice. Now, it's like states, we don't expect you to pay even $1 of this. We're just letting you know this is what it costs to house you during your stay. Could be like $5,000, $10,000, whatever, just to put it in perspective of the value that we gave you, kind of thing. And it's like their way of getting people to, become charitable to the Ronald McDonald House or Foundation or whatever it is. And I don't think that's a bad way to go, because maybe some people do not have any concept of the value that they've been given on that side. Now, in certain situations, I mean, it'd be completely invaluable support from the Ronald McDonald House. You get what I mean? Or did I just ramble on and
The latter. I couldn't connect the thoughts together. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. So like somebody helps you out so much that they're like, "Hey, this is what this was worth to me." And you're like, "I don't even know how I would pay you back, because it was so needed in this time of need that, like, yeah, sure, like maybe this thing costs $5,000 to you, but like I would never come up with the amount of money that it meant to me."
Okay.
And again, I think that could be answered with something that is thoughtful and that you have done with whatever that $5,000 went to. Show them what it meant by doing it and being where you needed to be. So say it was, a friend gave you $5,000, no strings attached, to help you finally get over that threshold to start a business. Put your nose to the grindstone and make that a successful business. Show them the investment they gave in you was worth every penny.
Yeah. And if you and some people, when they give, if you were to try to give back in return, like, here are the keys to a brand new Mercedes, have a nice day, and you were like, man, I love this car, thank you, I would love to give you something in return, but I can't. Here's a nickel. Like it just about $5,000. There's just be no way to really repay that person. The person gets that reward out of the whole giving, and they know that you can't help. In fact, and I found that thing that I was telling you earlier, I couldn't quote it right. When you give a dinner or a banquet, do not invite your friends or your brother or your relatives or rich neighbors, lest they also invite you in return and be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you. So back to the original question that opened up this podcast. I can't think of a situation in which that's an appropriate question to ask. Find those ways to outgive one another and outdo one another.
Yeah, again, like I said a minute ago, the only instance where I could see where it would be proper to ask that question is if you didn't ask that question and you just kept giving and helping. Sometimes when you might not have, had the room to, but yet they come back for more. Basically a deadbeat. Somebody who just
abusing you.
They're just taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
Well, I think an interesting question about that situation, and because I do talk to a lot of people who are into preparedness, and one of the things I think that a lot of quote unquote preppers call them whatever you want. I'm not into labels, but a lot of those guys don't. Well, first of all, there's some of them who are planning basically to go and take whatever they need. You know,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not
Oh,
even.
yeah.
Wolf
And
pepper.
I think the people who do that, they're stupid, and when they go to try to take someone else's something, they're going to awaken something in somebody's mind. It's like it's you or me, and it's gonna be me. You know what I mean? They're
And
not gonna have that opportunity to go take something because they're gonna get stopped at the door.
they'll cut themselves off from the community, and then someone else who's a wolf pepper can come in and attack them, and no one will be there
Yeah.
to defend them.
A new
Yeah.
name, Wolf Prepper.
Wolf prepper, yeah, that's what
Well,
it's called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that term a few times, and I just think
Oh
that
damn!
it's sad that that's such a prevalent thing that you're too lazy to take your own preparedness and your own family's future in your hands. You're going to go out and take it from someone else who made sure that
Yep.
their family was covered and they had enough that they might could give to others. And that's a difficult thing when you talk about prepping, like Story I think was fixing to get into, as prepping extra to give. Having
well,
that extra set aside to give. And
that's where I was headed. That's exactly where I was headed.
I think
Yeah.
that's where people
Yeah.
will have to wrestle with that, is because if they have a little extra to give and they give it to somebody, then somebody else is
Yeah.
going to come, and somebody else is going to come, and then they may come back again, and they may tell their friends and come back again, and you're ended up feeding a whole community when you prepared for you and yours.
Well, I think so. So where I was headed with that was down that path, but I think that we do need to be like, if one of the reasons that I try to be as self-sufficient as I can is because if and I'm not talking about just prepping, I'm talking about self-sufficiency in the very general sense, is that's the only way that I'm going to be in a position to help other people. Because
Exactly.
if I'm constantly in lack, I can't give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be in any aspect of your life, emotionally, financially, whatever it is. But so I think you have to plan to give, and you will have to give till it hurts. But by the same token, like I've thought this through, and my plan, if there were ever a big crisis like that, would be, and I've actually started preparing for this, but to have 5-gallon buckets and put some rice and some salt and some other useful items in there. And if you come and you ask for something, I'll say, here's what I can give you, but don't come back. That's it.
Okay, so a trick with that is it's a good idea to do it. It's just a bad idea if they know it came from you.
Yeah. Because in practice, they could just take advantage of you, and
or
help
attack
them,
you.
and they can just come back again when you're
So
asleep.
something that you can give through a church. You can say, I don't have anything, but I've heard there's a church down the road, and you've secretly on the side given to the
separate
church.
yourself.
Or some friend, something, not necessarily a church, but some organization that is separated from you.
In James Wesley Rawls and his novels, that's what a couple of the communities do.
Yeah,
they set up a thing. Yeah, I mean, it's just something that basically, like I've thought through, and I guess my point being, the reason I wanted to set it up was that, you said there's never a appropriate to ask that question. I think there is a point where you have to say, not what have you done for me lately, but I can't give anymore, and I'm sorry. And it's not about the transaction. It's just I'm no longer in a position to give. There's a limit.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to come back to that too. And I was reminded of, I was trying to look up the book. It's The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein.
Yeah. That was a good book. That was a good book.
If you feel like you just gotta give. Yeah. I was gonna say, you're probably the most literate, I don't know, of all of us. So just by age alone. But yeah, The Giving Tree. Don't give till you die. Is what I got out of that book.
Oh, that's a good lesson.
Yeah, don't give till you die.
Yeah.
And
okay.
but yeah, we're over an hour here. So what do you guys want to wrap up on? Any thoughts or notes?
No, nothing in particular.
For in the husband and wife relationship, she and he are going to be thinking that question, and when they do, they are going to be looking for different things. And a man loves to lay down his life, but he doesn't always naturally love his wife. And there's a joke that there was a couple that was married for 50 years, and I'm hoping I'm not going to butcher the joke. I'm not good at telling jokes, but they were married, and he just would never say "I love you." And one day she just had enough of it. Honey, you we've been married so long, and I just don't hear "I love you." And he said, "Well, I told you that at the wedding, and if it changes, I'll let you know."
Yeah, well, like to that, I missed that whole segment, but to what you said, if he didn't love her, would he go to work every day? Would
Yeah,
he provide the
but
home and
she
this and that
so
and everything else?
so to wrap it up, she's perceiving love in a different way, and he's looking for respect out of her. And when the couples don't recognize that, they start to ask themselves, "What have you done for me lately?" So
when
Well-
one's not acknowledged, then the other one gets forgotten, and then they both are missing and not doing what the other one wants to affirm themselves, to affirm your partner in the other. It's just to make sure, hey, I notice you. Oh, hey, I notice you too. That's big.
Yeah.
Well, let me add on to that. My wife and I went through a conversation where we talked about, like, I show you my love because, like me, I'm like the guy in the story. I'll let you know if that changes. But I mean, I go to work every day. I work very hard. I earn a decent living, etc. And those are all ways I feel like I'm showing my love for my family. And I feel like, hey, I did my part. And so anyway, we're having this conversation about this, like, how do I show love, and how does she show love? And what we found out in discussing it was that we were loving the way we wanted to be loved.
Yeah.
But we weren't loving the other the way the other wanted to be loved.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to say, how does the other feel loved? What do I need to do to make the other feel loved? And so that's a huge challenge. I mean, I'll just submit to you that it's very difficult because I mean, I like to cook, but I like to cook not to make other people feel loved, a little narcissism there. My wife knows that if she brings me breakfast, I feel loved. She hates to cook. So she'll cook to make me feel loved, whereas I'll cook because I love to cook, not because I want to make anybody feel loved. And so when you can suck up that motivation to love someone the way they want to be loved, man, that's super powerful.
I think I'm glad you brought that up. That's I think that's a great note to wrap up on, like, so that people do feel like they're getting, like, out of the transactional relationship, they're getting out what they wanted out of the relationship. But you got to make sure that's well defined in that what it is that they actually want, not what it is you think they want. So
yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Let's go around and plug our stuff. Christopher, you're first.
Yeah, so use the coupon FarmHopLife Rocks at securecoop.com and get a free ebook on coop protection. We're going to be I'm working on a coop door opener with phone notifications. And so you have a chicken coop and it opens the door, it tells you whether it's open, it tells you if there's an issue. And I have a guarantee on that if there's ever a failure that I do not notify you about that causes you to lose your entire flock, I will replace your entire flock up to 20 birds.
It'll make it'll make for a good stocking stuffer this holiday season.
I don't know about this holiday season, but we're getting there.
It'd have to be a pretty big stocking, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And
Me, I am at Homestead of Pain on a couple places.
such an
Not
awesome name.
That's a great
You
name.
know, it really is, and that's what we are going to use. I'm going to have a lot of different subsections under that eventually, but check me out. I'll start posting things eventually. I've been extremely busy.
Mhm.
Going on dates.
This is the second one. Today was my first date.
Cool.
Or my first second date. My bad. Second date.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you post whenever you get around to it.
Yeah. I need to start. I have all the content there. I just
Literally,
have to.
dump it. Just dump it. No context. Just post pictures. Like
I mean,
pig in the Telegram chat.
Oh, okay. So the thing about that pig is though, I have like that was like the clean side. I have a lot more uncouth pictures of that pig.
See what gets you banned.
I would like when we were cutting its head off. I videoed that because it just looked kind of funny.
Perfect.
Yeah, I didn't share it with anybody. It's just like this is gonna get documented.
This is just for me. Thank you.
All right.
Long story. Let's hear it.
Hey, well, we'll be at the old barn in Chapin, South Carolina for the market on Saturday. We're ramping up our production, and we should be, hopefully we'll be opening our local food grocery sometime next year. I don't know if I ever talked to you guys about that project, but
Yes, you did.
Excellent.
Okay, good. Yeah, so hopefully sometime middle of next year we'll be getting that going. I went to a food to market workshop. I'm taking a class on basically on food safety and food regulation, and hooked up with some other producers, and trying to forge some relationships there and keep building my community here. So
I love it.
cool, man.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
sounds great.
I am Matt DeRozier of A Farm Hop Life. We are a traveling homestead family. We are launching April or May, I forget which. In 2023, we're going to visit 20 homesteads in the year 2023, hence 20 by 23 project. Check us out, FarmHopLife.com. Until then, we do interviews and updates and this men's forum. So,
Do you have all 23 homesteads that you're visiting down pat?
20 homesteads in the year 2023. Grant.
Okay.
It's not 20 by. It's not 23 by 23.
I didn't know if you had. I didn't know if you had all the ones that you had that you're going to like scheduled out and ready to go.
Not really.
Because maybe
I have a few, and I'm honestly probably just going to be like, you know what? I'm gonna go. Who's cool around you? I'm gonna go visit their place and see their homestead, and
maybe you can throw on like a 24th, bonus farm if we can get our property, get that family
20.
property where
He's still thinking it's 23.
I know. Yeah, Grant's clearly got other things on his mind.
He's got other things on his mind.
Yeah, that third date.
I guess I'm lost on this.
20. There's 20x 23. 20 is the number of homesteads.
Homesteads in 20.
X by 23. The year 2023. Hence 20 by 23. It's just a play on words thing, dude. Like,
so you want to visit?
numbers.
You want to visit 23 homesteads?
No, he's just effing with me. That's what he's doing. He's just effing with me.
This is funny.
We are leaving. Thank you all for listening.
All right. Enjoyed it.
All right. Y'all be good.
All right. See you guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Nope. Long story. Peaced out. All right. Bye.